Okay, so
Here now.
we are talking about my FilterRoster script. I am Alice Keeler. I love Google, and so I wrote I'm learning Google Apps scripts. This is one of my first scripts I made, so we're going to demonstrate this. Jessica, are you able to share how we got started with this today? Jessica's frozen. So, Jessica,
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Last week, I spent some time using the import range function to solve a problem for my district, and Alice and I got to chatting on Twitter, and she was telling me about how she is using a similar sort of setup to do some classroom type stuff, and it's like, okay, well, firsthand, I know that import range is amazing, so if I can
Yeah, import range is super amazing.
harness that power not only for administrative duties, but also for students.
Uh-oh, we lost her. Lori, do you want to introduce yourself?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, Tom, we can hear you.
Alright, I'm just going to have Jessica come around and use my computer. I think it's a computer right now.
Okay.
Alright.
Oh, you guys are together. Oh, I get it. Okay.
We are together.
I was wondering why the background sort of looked similar. Anyway.
For sure.
I'm Lori Roberts, and I work in Richmond as a district educational technologist, and I'm very interested in this because, boy, it's tough when you have a lot of data trying to get exactly what you want out of it. So I'm excited about this.
Yeah, so thanks for joining. And then, Tom, do you want to introduce yourself? Tom's.
We have a really fancy setup here, if you can't tell already.
I'm Tom Spall. I'm the Instructional Technology Specialist for Brenham ISD for the elementary schools. And this is my first year as the ITS. So.
Awesome. Okay, so what we're going to do, I have some slides that I can share with you. If you go to the FilterRoster Google Plus page, does that show me? Yeah. So if you go to the FilterRoster Google Plus page, I do have the links in the details for the link to the presentation slides, the link to the script, and the link to the sample data. So the link to the presentation slide, I'll just zoom in here. Should have put them on the slides, so it's smarter. So the link to the presentation slides is goo.gl/lowercase p, capital F, looks like capital O, lowercase s, the number 7, and a lowercase I. And I will tweet that. Okay, there we go. So, and I have links in the presentation slides to the other two links, so that's there. Okay, so I'm going to just one more time. It's goo.gl/lowercase p, capital F, capital O, lowercase s, the number 7, and lowercase I. So in my slides, I'm going to go ahead and start the presentation. So what I have is I'm going to just go through really quick what the steps are, and then you have the slides later to look at for the step-by-step directions. And then I have links to some sample data so that Lori and Tom and Jessica can try it with me, and we'll see how we can do in getting them to be successful using the script. Okay, so first you start with a Google form. And so you're collecting some sort of information from either students or teachers, or you have some sort of data, but you need something that repeats. So like I do, or I collect sign-in sheets, or students sign in every week. So for each sign-in, each student has signed in multiple times. So I want to know how many times has Bob signed in, how many times has Javier signed in. Like I can run a pivot table on that, but I actually want to filter and see each student's data all together. So my FilterRoster script is very similar to the roll call add-on. I didn't know about that when I wrote it, but I'm still learning how to make scripts. And so what it does is it takes and creates a tab for each student that filters just their information, so I don't have to filter them one at a time. So that's the first one, and then I added on to that some capabilities. Let me go back to the slides. So I start with the Google form, and so then it goes into a spreadsheet where I have all of this data. So my script, what it's going to do is it's going to create a tab for each student, right? And then what it's going to do is from each tab, which has the filtered data on it, it's going to make a spreadsheet per student. And that spreadsheet is going to be shared with each student. And then when the form gets updated, it's going to update the students' forms or student spreadsheets because I use import range. What? I love that one. So, you know, each student is able to see their sign-in data, and I'm working on modifying this script so this works for badges, so you can assign students badges and they have their own spreadsheet of all the badges they've earned, but I'm working on that. So that's the basic gist of what this script does. So here are the steps, and then we're going to practice them. So basic directions. Number 1. You want to go to the spreadsheet that takes the data from the Google form. So even though you might be using a Google form to collect the information, we don't need the Google form at all. So you can actually do this also if you just have a spreadsheet of data. But what's important is that there's something that repeats that you want to be able to filter by that. So it repeats by student, or it repeats by assignment title, or it repeats by teacher. There's something in there that repeats. Then I have the script because it's super beta right now, so since I don't have it uploaded to the add-on marketplace, you have to copy and paste the script. So I have a link to the scripts. You'll have to select all and copy. And then in the spreadsheet itself, you're going to have to paste that script going to the Tools menu. And under the Tools menu, it says Script Editor. So in Script Editor, it has some default text. You want to delete that so you can paste the script that I've written. So that it puts the script into your spreadsheet that you're using. You only have to do this once, but you have to do it per spreadsheet. So if you have a different one that you want to use this on, you'd have to do that. So then you're going to save your script in the script editor, and I save the name as FilterRoster because when you go to the add-on menu, whatever you save it as is what it shows up in the add-on menu as. And it's just a temporary add to the add-on menu. It only works within that particular spreadsheet. Other spreadsheets, you won't see it in the add-on menu. So from the run menu in the script, you want to run the on install, so it installs it to the add-on menu, and it's going to ask you to authorize the script. So you don't have to do any coding, but you will have to copy and paste the code in there. So we're going to do that. And then you can just go ahead and close out of the script editor once it's authorized and it's run. So you want to look at your data. So you have your whole spreadsheet, and you're asking yourself, what is it that repeats? What do you want to filter by? And you need to put it into your mind what column that is. Is it column E? Is it column B? What is a column letter? Jot it down on a Post-it note or something because it's going to ask you for that column. So figure out what that is. And then in the add-on menu, it's now going to say FilterRoster so long as that's what you saved it as. So we're going to go to the add-on menu, choose FilterRoster, and we're going to run the setup. And running the setup is going to just magically create tabs and sets up for you to be able to decide which students or which information that you want to filter. So there's 3 options. The first one is run setup. So when you're prompted, it's going to ask you what do you want to name the spreadsheet. So it's going to make a spreadsheet per kid or per whatever it is that you're filtering. And so there's going to be a default title of that spreadsheet, and then it appends the student's name to the end of it. So I just did one yesterday on where I ran it on the attendance data. So I just said your attendance, and then it would automatically put dash Joe Smith at the end for Joe's and dash Mary Smith at the end for Mary's. So just the starter title, so you're going to just type that in. And then it's going to prompt you and ask you, okay, what column repeats? So go ahead and just type that letter, so E or B or whatever column it is. So now if you go to, in the spreadsheet, a roster tab has been created. So just like out of thin air, it built the whole thing where it's highlighted them yellow, and it's got a place for you to put in the students' names and email addresses. So you're going to go to that tab that's called roster, and you're going to fill out columns B, E, and F. The other columns are superfluous. Like you can put stuff in there if you want to, but it's not required. They don't really do anything for you. It was meaningful for me just to help me to organize my data when I was making it the first time. But column B is the value that repeats, what it's looking to filter in the data spreadsheet, and then what you want to name the tabs at the bottom, which may or may not be the same value, and then you want the students or the teacher's email, whoever it is that you're going to share the document with, so they now have editing access to that one spreadsheet. Students would not have access to each other's spreadsheets. So I usually just copy and paste, but there's some reasons why you might want them to be different. That says the exact same thing. So you go back to the FilterRoster add-on. So there's the second phase. There's 3 phases. So you're going to run FilterRoster is the second option. And so that creates a tab per student. And so once it creates the tab per student and it filters all the data, then you go back and you do the third step to create the spreadsheet. So you go back to the add-on menu to do that. So that's it. Let's get started. We're going to try it out and do it step by step together. So Lori and Tom and Jessica, you guys ready to get started with the steps? The first thing you want to do is to make a copy of my sample data. So I have a spreadsheet that I just typed some random stuff in that's not real. So it's goo.gl/K, lowercase w, capital S, capital O, lowercase z. If you have access to the presentation slides, you can just copy that. I will tweet it out, and it's also on the FilterRoster page in the description. Okay, I'm going to tweet it. Okay, so I just tweeted, if you're following me, I'm at Alice Keeler. So I'm going to make my own copy. So, Lori, were you able to make a copy? It should prompt you. Jessica, are you good? Okay, so I'm going to make a copy. I'm going to zoom in. So what I have on this particular one is, what if you are organizing student passwords like for their Google Apps account. So you have a spreadsheet that has every student's password, and then so teachers need to know who's on, for their roster of students, what their students' passwords are. So they'd be able to look that up, and then it would be automatically updated as students come in and out of their class. So that's what this data has, but pretty much any Google form, so long as it's filled out multiple times, this would work for it, or that there's some value that repeats. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to get the script. So if you will go to the script, you should be able to open that up, and we're going to copy it. So if you're on a PC, it's Control-A, select all, Control-C, copy, and if you're on a Mac, it's Command. So goo.gl/capital W, capital G, lowercase I, lowercase o, capital Y, and the number 5. Good? You can talk too, because I hate talking to myself, and I'll talk too fast. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the script also. I'm going to Control-A, select all, copy, Control-C. I'm actually on a Mac, but then I'm going to go back to the spreadsheet. Now in the spreadsheet, you're going to go to Tools, Script Editor. Tools, Script Editor. So you have your script. You're going to just paste it in there, but it has a default function. Just hit Close. We're just going to do a blank project. So hit Close. So this function, my function, we need to get rid of that. So I just Control-A and I highlight it, and I Control-V paste right on top of it. So it's going to paste this script, and you don't need to worry about what any of it says. I promise you I don't have any malware in there. I like to help teachers and not tear them down. So the only thing you have to do is just click on the little disk up here in the script editor, and we're going to save it, and I'm going to save it as FilterRoster. Where you're good?
Yep. FilterRoster.
Feel free to heckle also.
Oh. Oh, really? Okay.
Okay, so it can take a couple of minutes, especially since this is a really long script comparatively to some others. I'm just waiting for it to run. You'll notice in this drop-down box it says my function. It's going to update to all the functions that I have listed in the script.
Oh, okay.
So someday it's going to do this. Not today. Maybe tomorrow. No, it'll do it.
So while that's saving, can we talk about some practical applications for this?
Yeah, please. Do you have some ideas?
Well, Tom and I were just talking. I like the idea of maybe using this for like a reading log. How else are you using this?
I'm still like writing the script, so I've been using it just for like attendance. So I have the students sign in on a Google form I only see my students once a week, so they sign in every week. And then I ran this on the attendance script last night, and I noticed some of my, it's week 8 because I teach college, and some of them have not signed in more than once. And so I was able to go to each tab and see their attendance sign in for every student, and that was really cool. And then because it gives me the link to their spreadsheet, so in this spreadsheet, in a minute, it's going to show you that I have a link to everybody's. And so I'm able to open up their spreadsheet and do file email collaborators and email the student a note really easily, and it links them to because it's email collaborators, it links them to their individual spreadsheet so they can take a look for themselves and verify it. So one student emailed me back with like, I've been signing in, so he had put in a different ID number or something, so it didn't match, so I didn't see the data. So anyway, it helped to clarify that earlier on in the semester. Reading logs is a good one. What other ideas do you have?
I was thinking especially for our kids in the elementary school, whatever, just doing like maybe like entrance exit cards. So you have each kid has a tab, and then if they get onto a Chromebooks every morning, just fill out a quick form. The teacher creates those entrance exams or quick like 3-question check-in for understanding questions in the morning. They fill it out. And then you just get to keep track of all those quizzes as they go with timestamps and data and all that data collection. That would be a great idea to do this. I've always looked for a way to have kids on different tabs. This is a great idea.
Yeah, and like I said, there's in the add-ons, there's already one called Roll Call that does something similar to this. So what makes mine unique is that you can define who you make tabs for and not. Because I might not want to do it for every single student in my class or every single person, every single unique entry. You can only make 200 tabs, and even though you can make 200 tabs, you shouldn't. It probably won't even let you because there's a limit to how many cells you can have. So if you have not cropped out the extra columns and the extra rows, it probably won't let you build up to 200 anyway. So running this multiple times on different spreadsheets for different classes, so I could do an import range of the data, of the Google form data to a different spreadsheet, and then do it with a different roster of kids so I can separate those out so I don't have so many tabs on one document, or just target certain students. That's where mine is different. Mine also makes the external spreadsheets, which I'm excited about.
Yours is just awesome. You can be honest right there, so it's okay.
Well, I just learned how to script, so I'm just like super proud of myself because I went from 0. I just did oh gosh, what is where you learn how to do JavaScript? It's Codecademy. I did Codecademy for like a week, and then I just opened up AppScript. I'm like, I know AppScript is based on JavaScript, and so within an hour of knowing nothing about AppScript, I had roster tab working, which takes a roster of students and makes a tab for each student. And then I've been building on that where now I have this. But the learning curve, I think, is pretty low, and I know basically nothing, and I'm still able to do this. So I'm like super pleased with myself. So anyway, I'm rambling.
So I can tell you how I'd use it, and my job is a little bit different. I work with teachers, and I have 2 educational technology coaches, and we go out and we do professional development at different sites. Well, we use just one evaluation form. It's just kind of generic, and this would be great because then we can make different tabs for either different dates or different subject matters. and put those into the form as, the actual form, put it in as a drop-down menu so that we can control what people type into that.
So the only trick to that, Lori, because that would totally work, so it's something that I would have to build in functionality, is that you can't make the script a second time because you can't have things named with the same tab number or the same tab name. So I'd have to have a way for it to recognize to skip the rows that are already completed. You can see that Andrew Stillman does that when you do Autocrat, or a lot of the mail merges, they recognize that. So obviously it's possible. I just need to add in that functionality. So if you're going to do it with different dates, you'd have to have the list of dates kind of in advance, or your list of subjects in advance for what you do it. So like I said, this is super beta, so that's a good tip that I need to build that in.
Okay.
Okay, so if we're looking at the filter roster, it should be named filter roster, and then you want to go to the run menu and choose on install. So the other ones are just different functions that I've written. You don't need to worry about them. The only one you need to worry about is on install. So go ahead and click on install. And sometimes when it gives you authorization, it tells you don't have permission and you should not do this. You just run it again. It'll do it. Just sometimes you have to do it twice. I'm running it says authorize, yes. Can't see the authorization window, but I'm accepting.
Okay, I think I missed a step. I chose on install and then do what?
You run on install, and then it should prompt you to authorize it.
Oh, okay, I'm with you.
You only have to do that the first time, but you have to do it per spreadsheet. So if you install this script on a different spreadsheet, you'll have to authorize it again.
Gotcha.
As soon as I get it polished and not beta, and I can add it to the add-on menu, you would install it from the marketplace and not have to copy and paste the script, number one. And number two, it would be there always for all spreadsheets for all time.
Awesome.
So, down the road. So I can see now that it's, I have these different functions in the drop-down menu, which you don't need to worry about. But I ran it, I authorized it, now I can just close out of that tab, I don't need it. I can go back to the spreadsheet data. And you should see in your add-ons is now filter roster. And again, this is only going to show up in this spreadsheet. It's not global.
Yeah.
You see that I have 3 phases to complete this.
Yep.
The first one is to run the setup. So go ahead and choose run setup. And this just makes me a little bit giggly because it just makes stuff out of thin air. All of a sudden, look, it created a tab and it put all those headers on there. So what do I want to name the student document? So in this particular example, it's student passwords. I'm going to name the document student passwords. So Laura, you might want to make it session evaluations or workshop evaluations, something like that. I'm going to put OK, and now I messed up because I forgot to check which column has the data. I'm going to push cancel. I'm going to totally mess this up. Form data, yeah. It's E. I'm going to cancel. I'm going to run it again. It's going to be mad at me. I'm going to delete these. I'm going to run it again. So that's kind of a sticking point is you have to look at your data first and be like, okay, well, which piece of information is going to repeat? So I want to make a tab per teacher in this particular case, and that's in column E. So that's where, when it asks me, I want to say E. So I'm going to run the setup again. I want to name this student passwords. And then it is in column E, right?
Yes.
Okay. I need a post-it note because I can't seem to remember from one tab to the next. It's like walking into a room, why did I walk in here? Every time. Okay. And I should go back to the roster. So what you'll see that the setup did is I created a roster tab where it gives me these different headers. And then it also created a template tab, and it's supposed to say not applicable because this is the template it's going to use to create a tab for each student, or in this case, each teacher. So what it's looking to do is to match what's here in A1 with what's in column E, which obviously I don't have a value of put SID here. So it's like, what are you talking about, Willis? So just ignore that. You don't need the template tab. You don't need to look at it. But here on roster, what I did is I have it default that it looks at column E and pulls out all the unique values out of column E and makes a list for you so you don't have to do it. But you can edit this. You're like, that's great, but I don't want Jones to be included in this. You can just delete him out. So this is how it's unique from roll call. Roll call, you're going to get a tab for every unique entry, which can then overwhelm, like you have too many tabs. So this allows you to control which tabs you want to have created. But I just have it in there as a default for you just to get you started.
So we are still in phase 1 right now, correct?
Yes, we're still in phase 1. So I'm just setting up my roster. I made column A because I had this idea that I wanted to combine a wacky code, like a password, with the student's name so that people couldn't accidentally hack back into the spreadsheet. But I was making it overly complicated. So you can put the first and last name if you want to, but you don't have to. But here in column E for the tab name, you do need to decide what do you want to name the tabs. I usually want to do this. Now, what I would do if I was, I like to collect with students their student ID number, so I would be putting student ID numbers in column B, which means in column E I really want to put their names instead of their student ID numbers. And I'd probably do a VLOOKUP table for that so I don't have to like type their names. But in general, you just have these match, you can copy and paste. And then go ahead and put a valid email address. This won't work, so I'm just going to put one of my emails that I actually have, and they can all have the same email. But what it's going to do is it's going to create a spreadsheet for every one of these people, and it's going to email and share it with them via that email address. So it'll be in their Google Drive. They'll have access to edit it. They will be an editor on the document, so you'll want to put each person's email address and F. So those are the only 3 you have to fill out. A, C, and D are optional. And again, I just use A to use it, like if I wanted to use a concatenate formula to push things together. You don't need it. Did you have the spreadsheet set up?
Yes.
Don't email me at that email address, by the way. Don't check it. That's just one of my fake email addresses I use to make fake stuff. So then if you go back to FilterRoster, you can do step 2, which is to run FilterRoster. And if I had more than 4 names, this would be like extra magical. But even with 4, it's still kind of cool.
Oh, that's cool.
So I just click Run FilterRoster. And you see it's now made a tab.
Oh, cool.
And it's filtering it. So when I click on the formula, you notice it's a filter formula. And it's pulling from the Forms tab. So when the form is filled out again, each tab is updated. So for me as the teacher, I'm able to monitor and see what everyone's submitting, like if it's a warm-up or the evals. I can look at them all in one place. I don't have to go to 30 different spreadsheets. So this is good for me all the time. But then I want to share it with the students. So then that's where I'm going to want to push this out to them. So this is for me, that's FilterRoster. And then so I just go back to FilterRoster, add-ons, FilterRoster. I want to click on the roster tab because it's way more magical to watch it. Add-ons, FilterRoster, and create student spreadsheets. So when I click that, it is going to, here on the roster tab, it's going to put the link to the spreadsheet in the document ID. You don't need the document ID, but I needed it. I need the document ID, so.
Okay, so can I process through this with you?
Yeah.
Okay, so on the original tab, when data is input, that automatically feeds to the subsequent tabs as well as the spreadsheet that is shared with that third party.
Correct. So, and then you see here I have an easy list of everybody's. If you delete stuff, you actually need to delete the rows completely, like make them go away.
Yeah.
So you see that I had, that's why apparently I put some stuff in there. Just delete. I don't know what I'm doing now. You guys are watching, so then nothing works. So you see, because I typed something into row 6, it now thinks it should have made something for row 6, and it got fussy about it. So just kind of be aware of that. things that I need to make work better. But I can just go through each one. So I click on the first one, and it's going to be Garcia's spreadsheet. It mirrors. It's an import range. See, if I click on here, it's import range from my original spreadsheet. So that means that as my original spreadsheet updates, Garcia's spreadsheet is going to.
That's great.
And it's shared. If I click on share, you'll see it's shared with the Alice Keeler. Where is it? Right down here. Which is who I put down as my email address. And I go to the next one. You can see this one is for Smith, and it's got Smith's data on it. So I have this idea. Oops, you can't see any of that because I wasn't doing on screen sharing. Ah! Oh my gosh. Okay. How long was I not doing that? Okay, I'm going to delete these and do it over again. I hate when I do that. Okay, so I go to add-ons, filter roster, and I create student spreadsheets. So now I'm going to have duplicates. Good for me. And so you'll see it's going to build the spreadsheet ID, and this link to the spreadsheet is just going to show up automatically. There it goes. For each person.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I ended up with a tab between Sa and Jones.
So did we.
5. Title 5.
So I have a script that says if there's a duplicate name, or I have a portion of the script that says if there's a duplicate name, to take the line number and append it to the name. So if I have 2 Alices, I'd have, if the line is line 5, I'd have Alice, and then I have Alice 5.
Oh, okay.
So for some reason I had, in my template, I had typed something and activated one of the rows, the row under row 6.
Mm-hmm.
So what I should have done is I would need to like delete the row, don't just delete the data.
Okay.
Before you run it, because otherwise it just thinks that row is activated and it should make something for that row. So I had a blank row, so blank, 5th row. That's where it comes from. So that's just a glitch. It's not, ignore it or delete it, you know.
Yeah, delete the whole tab. Right.
That tab can go away.
Okay.
Go back.
Gotcha.
So right, so I have each document. I can just link to each document. It's all there in one list. They're also in my Google Drive, every single one of these. It's shared with that person. It's an import range, so it's mirroring the data. Now, I made this take 30 minutes that I went through all this, but if you actually just run all 3 steps, it should probably only take you 5 minutes.
You know, and honestly, it's good to see like because everything that you ran into are all the things that we're probably going to do and wouldn't know how to solve the problem. So this worked well.
That's true. So what I need to do is on my sample data is I need to delete row 6. But the other things I need to do is just have it test for blank rows and ignore them. So I just need to keep a list here. So if you guys use it and you have like feature requests or this didn't work right, make sure you contact me so I can keep tweaking it. Because I can't publish it until it's really cleaned up. So just be sensitive that it's beta.
It's so good.
Yeah,
it's great.
And so, yeah, so if you had 30 of them, you'd have 30 import ranges. So does that make you super excited?
Yeah, it really does.
I love import range.
Yes, we do. This is sick. I can't wait to try it. I'm so excited.
Yeah, so that's the whole thing. So you've got the sample data if you want to just try running it a few more times to practice, but then just go take Google Forms that you already have and copy and paste the script into there and just see what happens when you run the 3 phases.
Oh, that's smart. That's a good idea.
And, you know, for some spreadsheets it'll be good for that and others it won't. So kind of just experiment and play with it, and then give me some best practices back, because I'm trying to fix it up. So I hope this was helpful.
It was awesome.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. Well, you guys have a great weekend, and I will hopefully connect up with you later.
Okay,
sounds good. Thank you.
Great.
Bye.
Thanks, Alice.
Bye.
Bye, Lori.